Hey everybody, Marieanna Wild here. So excited to have another episode of My Blueprint Stories and with one of my favorite biz besties, Kate Quin. For those of you that don't know who I am the head of community development for Shanna Skidmore, and she had asked me to hop on here and talk with some of our incredible Blueprint alum as they just share their stories about how the Blueprint model has really shaped their business model and really kind of helped them move forward in their business in different directions. And so I'm super excited because Kate was one of the girls that I got to go through the Blueprint model with. And we just got to know each other really well through that. Our businesses are very similar. And so it's just been really awesome to have a biz bestie who's walked through the Blueprint model and been able to teach me a ton about myself and my business as well. So Kate, we're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored for being able to share my story and just chat with you. I'm
I'm
excited to be here.
excited. I am excited. Oh my goodness. You just like melt my heart every time I talk to you. I swear you like fill me up
Stop.
with so much energy. Before we get started, for those in the community who might not really know who you are, who maybe haven't met you, can you just give us a quick background of who you are, what you do, and really what brought you to this career?
Sure. So my name's Kate. I run katequin.com, which is a kind of brand and content management, but I also do some VA services. And I feel like my story is a little bit different than most because I actually purchased the business versus starting it from scratch. So I took the business over almost 3 years ago now. But the beauty of that was that I was able to really take it and make it my own still. So it wasn't like I needed to keep the branding or keep anything similar that she had. I just was able to really make it my own. So I do brand and content management for creative entrepreneurs, and went through the Blueprint model in class of 2018, and loved every minute of it, and feel like it kind of has shaped where I'm at today in my business.
I love that. Oh my goodness. So tell me a little bit about how you felt before you started the Blueprint model. You know, you bought this business, you were in it for 2 years before you started Blueprint model. So explain like where you were at that made you want to jump into the Blueprint model, and really what are some of the biggest takeaways that you've learned over 2018 of
Yeah.
running your business?
For sure. So I think, as any new business owner does, you kind of, don't want to turn away anything in the beginning. So you're kind of like taking on everything and anything that you can to get things rolling, and, to do what you need to do to bring in, the income that you need and that kind of thing. So I definitely fell into that. So I was like taking on any client that inquired with me, whether it felt like a good fit or not. And so my client load got to a point where I just like couldn't handle it anymore, but I wasn't meeting the financial need that I had wanted. So it just felt like this endless like cycle, and I just was gonna burn out. So going through the Blueprint model, what really helped me there was being able to go through the exercise of defining what was enough for me, and that kind of made me realize that I could reduce that client load a little bit and find those ideal clients that were maybe doing more with me or like taking on bigger packages with me. So I could really, decrease that client load, which made me, a lot happier and made me realize that this is sustainable, because going the other route, like I wouldn't have been able to keep that up for a long time. So
I feel like we both relate so much to that because, you and I think both had the aha moment at a very similar time. I think if I remember right, like we were in like a chat box with our group, and we both were like, we're virtual assistants, but really we're like brand managers. And it was one of those things for us where I think it was this idea of, instead of like essentialism, I think Shanna talks about this a ton, of like our energy going into a ton of different directions. You really realize that putting your energy into like really strong, your highest point of contribution, like helped you see that,
yes.
and helped you
Yeah.
get to your, or like see your financial need as not unrealistic, but totally attainable with less clients.
Yes, absolutely. And it allowed me to really focus in and realize that like, yeah, it was during Blueprint model, I kind of like redefined what I considered my role, and tried to like get away from doing all the things and really narrow in on like those specialty services that allowed me to work with my ideal clients.
I love that so much. Oh my goodness. And your ideal clients are so lucky to have you. That's for sure. It is
Thank
for
you.
sure. So you said you talked a lot about defining your enough, like, letting go of some clients that weren't necessarily your ideal clients, but um, talk to me. I know in the blueprint model, we talk a lot about money dates and kind of how that has helped shape understanding like where you need to be at the end of the month so that you felt comfortable enough with the client load that
Mm-hmm.
more realistic for you. So talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about how did money dates, what does that look like for you? Like a money date, what does that look like for you? And how has that helped you feel comfortable that with your current client load, your more realistic client load is more
Yeah.
attainable?
Yeah. So I think, on top of like going through the exercises of defining enough, I think when I was presented with the idea of the money dates, it was really that when I sat down to do the money dates that allowed me to really look at the numbers, like really look at all my clients, what services we were doing for them, like what they were bringing in. So really looking at the numbers allowed me to then realize that I could shrink my client load and I could, get to that point that I wanted to be at. But I think the biggest thing for me is like my entire life, like the topic of money was just like, it really wasn't at the forefront of any conversation growing up, like into my adulthood. I just never wanted to deal with it. And I never wanted to even talk about it ever. But obviously when you take over a business and like you start running a business, it's like, you have no choice but to know numbers. So for me, the idea of the money date was so helpful because I knew that it would give me like that dedicated time every month that I carve out that allows me to sit down, and that's like my only focus for that time. So it's a chance. And I asked my husband too, I was like, will you do these with me? Because he has such a good like numbers mindset and he loves spreadsheets and all that stuff as well. And I think just, being a family together, it's important for him to know what the numbers are in the business and where things are at. So I remember asking him, like, could you take like even a half a day, one Friday a month to sit down with me and do this money date? And he was like, sure, like, absolutely. So that's kind of how it looks right now. So we schedule out usually like the first Friday in every month. He'll take that morning or afternoon, whatever works with his schedule, off of work. And we'll sit down together, and like it's a time for me to input any expenses that were happening that month, pay the bills, look at the numbers, like go through the blueprint and the plan for the business and see where we're at, where I need to be. And again, going back to like really assessing that client load and like where things are at and where the money's coming in, has given me like a really good perspective on, what I need to be doing or how I need to work to get there. So without those, like I was flying blind. Like the first year of business, I was just like flying blind, not knowing the numbers, not really wanting to know the numbers either. But then come like tax time at the end of the year, you're like, okay, maybe I need to like put more emphasis on this. So that's where the blueprint, like as a whole program, helped me so much. But really those money dates allowed me to like not avoid money anymore and not, not be scared of like sitting down and really digging into the numbers. So that's been a huge takeaway from the blueprint model for sure.
I love that. And I love that you bring your husband in on board with that. Obviously, for you, your business is a huge investment for your family as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, since you had purchased your business and also like, I mean, anytime you own your own business, I feel like it's a family thing. Like I tell my husband that all the time. Like I never want to make a business expense decision without asking him first, just as it definitely is still a family decision. And so for him to sit down with you and go through those numbers, I think is just absolutely, it's so crucial to be able to do that. And I love that you actually set time aside to do it, which I know Shannon is and talks about a ton. But I think there's so much power in writing your numbers on paper and seeing them. And then that helps you feel more confident and like, whoa, I overbooked myself. I didn't need to do this. And just feeling more confident about hitting that sales goal. So
absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
amazing. So can you walk me through maybe like, what are the top 3 things that you would recommend anyone who's sitting down to do a money date? Like, what would be the 3 steps that you would want to walk someone through that helped you actually like do it consistently?
So I think for me, having like a software or a program for me that allowed me to like have that one place that housed everything was really helpful, like on top of like the blueprint financial plan that I have for the business, but then in conjunction with that, like an accounting software that made it really easy for me to log in and like track all my expenses. So like I said, in the first year, it was like I got to tax time and it was like I hadn't inputted any expenses for the entire year. So it was like this giant project that had to be tackled. Whereas now with the money dates, so like I'll bring like my credit card statements, like any bills that need to be paid that month, the financial blueprint and any components of what I need for that money date, I'll bring with me. And then having that software available, I'm able to like log in really quickly and input those expenses that had happened that month, pay off the credit cards, pay off any bills, that are outstanding there. And once that's all done, again, like just doing a quick like overview of where we're at in terms of the numbers. So I don't know if that answered your
No,
question.
totally does. No, it totally does. Cause I think some people might hear the word money date and they're like, what does that mean? What do I do?
Yeah.
I know it can be very intimidating, especially from someone like you and myself, who I used to totally be a money avoider. Like I was like, nope, I don't want to have to dig into this. And now I think since starting doing money dates and just like owning my own business and having to know the business side of your business, I started to become more comfortable in it. But I think, yeah, having the right software to do and actually looking at all of that every month is just so much better. It gives you, like you said, you're not flying blind anymore. Like you
No.
understand where you're at the end of every month. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I will say tax time this year, which is happening. I'm in Canada, so it's happening right now. I had to get everything into my accountant, and it was so much easier this year knowing that like I had done this every month. And it, like I said, it wasn't this giant like project that was just sitting for me to try and tackle. It was like ready to go. So like things were in on time and everything was in one place where it needed to be. So
I
it was
love it.
super helpful.
Awesome. I think that's so amazing. Now I need to get my husband to sit down and do money dates with me.
Yes,
I'll
I
tell
agree.
him Kate does it, so now you need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's too funny. Okay,
Yeah.
before we like hop off, because I swear you and I could talk all day
Mm-hmm.
long, and we both know
Yeah.
that. What would you say? We love, love, love asking this question at the end of any interview, or anybody who knows Shanna knows this question. But what would you say is the best thing that you've learned about money?
Oh gosh, so many things. So many things. I think the biggest thing for me was not looking at it as like a restriction. So in the blueprint model, I know Shanna doesn't really call it a budget. She calls it a spending plan. So I think for me, not being afraid of the numbers like I did in the past where I just didn't want to talk about them. And knowing that they actually like can provide so much freedom for you. So when you know them and you have your spending plan, it's like, this is what I can spend, not this is how much I need to like hold back or like cannot spend. So that was a huge, huge learning curve for me and mindset shift, I think, too, to like get your head around the fact that no, you do have this income, you do have these funds, and you can spend it here, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it provided that freedom of like, okay, I'm free to use this money and free to spend it versus like being scared of
Love
it so
that.
much.
So much freedom in knowing your numbers. There really is. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
so beautiful. Kate, I swear we could just like go on and on and on. And I love your heart, and I'm so grateful for the blueprint model and that Shanna brought us together, because
Me too.
you have so much wisdom
Yeah.
and you are just have such a heart for serving others. So thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
spending your time with us and
Of
sharing your
course.
story. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.